Well, hello there. How is everyone today on this election day? Elaine, I sent you the co-host. See if you can grab that. Alrighty. I think Elaine, how are you? If you see at the bottom of your screen on the lower, what is it? Yeah, there you go. Microphone.
How about now?
Perfect.
Okay.
I'm so excited. Thank you so much for doing this with me.
Oh, thanks for the invite. This is kind of fun. I've never done this before, but I think we should do it more often.
We absolutely should. I think county elections are so important, and not enough people know that they're happening. Not enough people know like who is even running. I've gotten so many people asking me like, who should I vote for? And it's like, maybe the day of the election is probably not the day to figure out who you should be voting for.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, also a lot of people didn't know that there was an election now. They think it's only in November. And I think also a lot of people who expected to get absentee ballots didn't get them because of the new Florida law that requires the supervisor of elections in all the counties to purge the the permanent roll of absentee voters like every 2 years. So that was an issue this year. We absolutely got fewer mail-in or absentee ballots sent out to voters, and obviously then fewer came in as well.
Do you think that's a good idea or a bad idea to purge the rolls every 2 years?
I think that you know I thought it was a good idea until I saw the results of it, which is that you know the 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 voters who don't, for example, I renewed my absentee ballot. My parents did not. They had to go vote in person because they're not as savvy. They're older. They're, the older voters who are not as aware. And they're my parents. So imagine that because I should have probably taken care of it for them. But I think that what happens is that engaged voters stay on top of it. And, the older voters who, like to vote, my parents are super voters, they don't, they might not know. They didn't know they weren't getting their absentee ballots, and I should have informed them. And I did write about it. And I know that the supervisor of elections sent out an email and did some publicity and some social media on it. But I don't think it's getting to those voters who need it the most. You
I
know what I mean?
agree. I actually I didn't renew mine either. So I went today in person to vote. But I kind of like the feeling of going in person to vote. I'm the
Yeah,
crazy one.
I used to love it. I used to like to go and wait until the last day. And, I guess I voted absentee like for the first time during the pandemic. And it just became, so easy for me, and especially because, I'm just, busy all the time. So but especially because I like to go to early voting places and I, visit people and talk to voters. And that way I can drop off my ballot at one of those ballot boxes. And the good thing is you can check online to make sure that your ballot did make it, and it did. So I don't have to go today to send, to have my provisional ballot cast.
Well, I went today and I can say at least at my polling location, it was empty.
Yeah, those are the reports coming in. This morning, I think in the first 2 hours they had 7,000 voters only. And if I look now on the website, the elections website, they have, like an official voter turnout, which right now it's inched over 19%. 280,456 voters. So it was a little bit over 200,000 this morning. So about 80,000 voters have gone out today. This is lower than 2 years ago, and a lot lower than the August election of the August primary of 2020. So we'll see. I don't expect it to get to 20%. Obviously, we only have not even 30 minutes left. So if you're listening to this and you haven't voted,
It might be a little late
run.
unless you run to your location. Have you tweeted out the address where people can see the? Because I haven't tweeted it out, so I was wondering we could pin it to the top if you have it, where people can go check the live election results that you're
Results.
looking at. Yeah,
Well, what I'm looking at is the unofficial voter turnout. I will
yeah, that's
share.
what I'm looking at too. Which is like a weird website. It's really long, so I think it's probably easier for us to just like do a post and put it up in the nest in case people want to find the election
Okay. I
results.
don't know how to put it up in the nest. You're gonna have to teach me how to do that.
I will teach you how to do that. But if you have a post already, I'll go look for it and then put that up in the nest because I think it's important for people. The Miami-Dade websites are not good. They're not user friendly.
Right.
And
No.
so like being able to show people where to find things is kind of one. I mean, they can take our word for it, but it
Well,
would be nice.
I don't think I've posted the site on my website, but I have the link to the county website, and I can send you that.
Yeah, I have it up as well. I
Okay.
just figured if you have it
No,
posted
I
already in
don't.
the
I wish
Twitter.
I did. I don't. I've posted where to request your absentee ballot,
Right.
how to change your information on your ballot, but I have not posted that in the last few days for sure.
So today's election is pretty much primaries, except for a few of the candidates. So for everyone who wants to, go out and vote in November, you need to sign up to or register to vote by October 7th. That is the last day to register to vote. So if you didn't vote today, shame on you, but also, no, I'm just kidding. But also you can still, vote in November. And I think one of the big issues that I also got a lot of people asking me about is I'm not registered to vote in one of, either Republican or Democrat. Can I still vote? So today you could still vote. Regardless, there were a few nonpartisan races, the biggest one being the mayor. If you live in a district with a commission race, that you could have voted for that today. And then also it was the county judges and some ballot questions. I think that was pretty much it.
And a couple of school board candidates as well. If you lived in the school board districts, there were like I think three school board districts that were also whose seats were also up. And yeah, so yeah, definitely. I think also the questions people didn't understand a lot of the questions, and so I think that that's going to be interesting to see what the results are today, particularly in Miami, where you have one question to get rid of the auditor general and one question to start the inspector general office. Well, what if voters say no and then yes? Does that mean we have to keep both offices, or yes and then no? Does that mean that they don't have anything, any type of watchdog? It's a very interesting conundrum. I can't wait to see the results. I have a
Yeah,
stomach ache, like I told you earlier.
you're really stressing over these. I just sent you the link to confirm that that's the same one you're using.
Yep,
Um,
that's it.
okay. Yeah, it's just it's not a great gosh, it's so terrible the way Miami-Dade does this stuff. Like there should be an easy place for people to go look at their election results, but whatever. I mean, it is county government. So, are you excited for any of these like which is the one that you really want to know the results for? Or which one do you think is going to be like the best? I don't know. What are you thinking? I
Well,
want to I want to pick your brain.
I think it's a real nail biter because of how even it is. If you look at that website that you were, just sent me that you're going to send to everybody or you sent to everybody, it has the the votes by party and type. And so Democrats were leading like way ahead with the mail in or the absentee ballots. But in early voting and today on election day, there's been more Republicans voting than Democrats, and they've almost caught up to the total, so that there's only a gap of like maybe 2,500 or 2,600 between them, where the gap was much bigger, 20,000 or 15,000, a couple of days ago, or before early voting started at least. So I think that that's going to be very interesting in the mayoral race, where the incumbent Daniela Levine Cava thought that she and her campaign thought that she was going to win outright today. I'm going to go ahead and predict that that does not happen. That there's going to be a runoff. I don't know with who. I suspect it's going to be with Miami Lakes Mayor Manny Sid, but we
I
shall
agree.
see.
I
And
agree with that wholeheartedly. I think that he's the strongest candidate of all of them, but you know, I mean, maybe that's just my wishful thinking because I do like him quite a bit.
I mean, I like him, and I think you're right. He's the best, qualified out of all the challengers. I mean, frankly, it's almost like a clown car, like the sheriff's race. It's just too many people. I wrote in the blog that I really do want to run off because with 7 candidates, you can't really focus on, the issues that the forums have been. I don't want to say laughable because I still think that they serve a good purpose. But what happened to the days when we used to have debates? I mean, I miss a good debate. You know,
There are
I,
no real good debates. There just aren't, and you don't even have to show up to them to win. So, is there really
yeah,
a point?
yeah. Maybe that's true, but I mean, at least before we would know that people would like reject or decline debates. Now there's just no debates. Everything's called a forum. Nobody gets asked hard questions. And I just think, and particularly with the sheriff's race, for example, when you have 11 Republican candidates and 4 Democrat candidates, how much time can each one really get in a forum, to talk to the voters or whoever's paying attention? So, I'm glad that there's going to be a runoff. I hope there's a runoff in the mayoral race, and then we'll see what happens in the other races, or how that. I think that's going to be less effect, have less effect in the other races, but certainly the nonpartisan races too, which have become very partisan, as you know. The school
Very
board
partisan.
races and even some of the commission races have become very
Yes.
partisan. So, that's going to make a difference in those races. I think the turnout.
Yeah, I mean, and I agree with you that there were so many Democrats that had voted early. So I think Republicans should have been at least a little scared of the results. And then it seems that right now we are just under 2,000 votes away from being completely equal. So Democrats have 116,400 votes in, and Republicans have 114,800 votes in. So, and I really think it's gonna come down to those no party affiliation people, which have 48,848 votes in. So, oof, it really is a nail biter. I'm pulling a U and just continuously refreshing my screen. I put
Yeah.
it down in the chat because for whatever reason my spaces isn't working to add the it into the nest. I don't know why that is.
Okay. Well, yeah.
Generally,
I
it's
mean,
at the so anybody that wants to check the results, I just put a message at the bottom. And if anybody wants to come up and speak, you can request. Elaine, I don't know if you were able to invite any of the candidates to come in, but anybody that would like to speak, go ahead. Ahmed, I see that you've requested, but this isn't a space where we are going to discuss Gaza and other types of things. So I appreciate it, but we're going to keep it to um, just the election of Miami-Dade County for the time being. Otherwise, it just gets really messy.
I'm going to say a big on that because while it's a very good topic, it's not my wheelhouse. My wheelhouse is local politics, and that's what
Yeah,
I hope we're talking about
same.
today, particularly the
Yeah.
results. Which I mean are what 13 minutes from the polls closing, and usually we'll have like the results of the mail-in ballots rather quickly within the first 20 minutes or half an hour sometimes. I expect the results to be solid by 8 o'clock because there's the turnout is so small. So
Right. It is very small. So I don't know if we've already said it, but mail-in ballots is pretty much almost the entire. Oh, yeah, it's pretty much half and half. So 136,000 mail-in ballots so far, where 70,000 people have early voted, and then 76,000 voted today. So it's kind of a split. Generally, we see in mail-in ballots tend to be favor Democrats, whereas election day voting is kind of a toss up, maybe more for Republicans. So we'll see, again, as you mentioned earlier, those changes that you now have to request the ballots, that might have changed the dynamic of this as well. But we'll see. We'll see as it comes in. And I think we're both furiously refreshing to see what changes. And so
yeah.
far, election results are not there. So um, who was on the ballot? Let's kind of maybe go down the ballot a little bit of the races if you want to while we wait for this to.
Well, yeah. I mean, do you have a sample ballot in front of you? I don't have it in
I
front
do.
of me. Okay.
I do, and I can actually post it also. Let me just do that really quick and post it into the nest as well. Or not the nest because I can't get it to work, but I can definitely post it into our spaces. And I have my iPad in front of me, so it's kind of like annoying to try and do both, move it up there. But yes, I'll post it so everyone can see the sample ballot, and that way you have it as well.
Okay. Oh, I see.
Oh, I just gotta send it to myself. Ugh, shucks. All right.
Oh,
Let me just copy it really quick so we can go down the sample ballot.
okay.
There were a lot of names I didn't actually know. I was pretty surprised, I think, of how
Well,
many
I mean,
people are running and not information, no information out there.
yeah, I'm pretty like not too aware of all the committee man and committee woman candidates, all the community council candidates. I don't know them all, and the judicial candidates, which in past years I've done better, but because I think there were only like 4 races or 5 races this year, I really didn't pay much attention. Those are races that I usually, if I don't pay a lot of attention, I don't vote. I don't vote in that group. So I'm
You
an
know,
under
it's
I'm
almost
an undervote.
impossible to like see the judges. They're not. I sent you the link just in case, Elaine,
Okay.
so we can both look at it. The judges are almost impossible. They're not allowed to give us information as to who they are, what they like, their politics, what they, if they are Republicans or Democrats. I find that to be really annoying, and I think there needs to be a better way for people to be able to look at what who they are, what type of cases they've seen. So all right, I have the sample ballot open. Senators, United States Senator. So it was between John S. Columbus, Keith Gross, and Rick Scott. And of course, Rick Scott, he's the incumbent, so generally that's who wins. So my
Yeah.
money's going to go on Rick Scott just because he's got a name recognition
I've
factor,
never even heard
whereas
of these other people, frankly. I know that
me neither.
in the Democrat primary, Debbie McCarcel-Powell is also facing, I think, 3 challengers, and Stanley Campbell's the only one I've heard anything about. He's the brother of Luther Campbell, Luke
Oh
from
yeah, 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 of
Live
course.
Crew.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
but she's also expected to win, even though Stanley Campbell's expected, to get some of the vote. So that's going to be an interesting race in November. But it's I mean, I predict a Rick Scott versus Debbie McCarcel Powell match, which
Oh boy.
is
I hate that we just vote down name recognition. So District 24 for the Republican side had Patricia Gonzalez against Jesus Gabriel Navarro. Also people I've never heard of.
right.
District 26 on the Republican side, Mario Diaz-Balart, the incumbent, Richard Evans, Johnny Fratto. You know any of them?
Well, obviously Mario Diaz-Balart is the only one I know. I've never heard of these other people who are running, against such a strong incumbent in a district where he is, beloved. Whether you
Right.
agree with it or not, it just seems like
Like they're
they haven't had a good campaign if I haven't heard of them. So,
Well,
uh,
that is very true. If anybody knows them, it would be you. So that is saying something. I feel much better about myself. Thank you, Elaine. I was gonna say I also don't know these people. District 27, Royland Lara against Maria Elvira Salazar. My money goes on Maria Elvira Salazar.
yeah, my money goes on Maria Salazar, even though I can't wait till November because she's going to either face Lucia Baz-Geller, which is what I think. I think Lucia Baz-Geller is going to win that Democratic primary, or former Key Biscayne Mayor Mike Davey, which will be a harder campaign because you got un gringo against a Latina. It's harder for him to attack her than it would be for Lucia Baz-Geller to attack her. Latina against Latina. I think it's going to be a much cleaner, better race for them, and for us. And I think that Lucia Baz-Geller also has more of a chance. if I could say that, I think I've said that already, than Mike Davey against Maria Elvira Salazar, even though I do expect her to win in November also in that district because she's just very popular among her
Maria Elvira.
constituency. Yeah, even though I think that popularity is beginning to get um, chipped out a little bit, and the district, from what I understand, is pretty purple. It's one of those great bellwether districts that can give you like a real sign of what people are thinking because it's so 30 30 30, like one third of everybody.
Hmm.
But that will be an interesting race. But that definitely Maria Elvira Salazar will take it today. I predict with
Oh,
80% of the vote.
oh boy. Yeah, I mean that sounds about right. You're right. I think she is really beloved despite what those of us that follow might think. People like her.
Yeah,
Um
especially in the party because she says the right words. So the
well,
right
she
buzzwords.
paints herself as very anti-communist, and I think
Exactly.
that's
That's what it is. We're fighting the communist encroachment in our American society, right? So
right. So she definitely has that edge.
that's her
Uh
message.
State rep for 106 was also on the ballot, and well, I'm looking at I don't know where the Democrats are on
They
this
come after.
thing.
They come after the
All
Democrats.
Oh,
Yeah.
so Republicans get the first half. Oh, I
Yeah.
see. Okay. Well, I was gonna say because we can match them up, but that's not really working out because this sample ballot is just absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
It's got Melinda Alamonte against Fabian Basabe, for 106. And the only thing I've heard about Basabe is the dirt on him. So that can't
Yeah,
be
I mean,
good.
I know a lot of people who like him. He's a very nice guy, but he's a real estate agent, a reality TV star who I think just got lucky. And then today there was another story about him, and somebody else in his campaign making another allegation. Where I don't want to say obviously that he's guilty because you have to give him the benefit of the doubt, but this is now like what 3 or 4 allegations, and you know I still think he's going to win. Again, the power of incumbency is huge.
It is. It's so big. It's just wild to me how that is a thing. But here I am telling you that well, I mean, to be fair, my district, I could only vote for mayor and the judges, so I had nothing else to vote for. So to be fair, none of this really matters to me at this point because I had no option to choose these people. But it's true. I mean, it's just so hard to keep tabs of who is who and what you hear, and so you hear the bad stuff more than anything else. Oh, you know what we didn't say at the beginning was people can follow your work at Political Cortadito. Miami people all know who you are, but I guess for the benefit of everybody else here, if you've never read Political Cortadito, it's where every politician in Miami goes for their news. um I think you just do such a fantabulous job at being neutral and covering all the topics. So I want to make sure that we give you a shout out and we keep repeating that because everybody reads it and everybody should read it, right?
I agree that everybody should read it. I don't know about everybody reading it, and I do want to just with a little bit of a grain of salt say that it's not completely unbiased. I do throw in my analysis. There are politicians who I think uh, you know because, and I can document why, are bad. They know who they are, so it wouldn't be any surprise that Joe Carollo finds himself on that list. So it's not completely unbiased in the sense that there's definitely bias, but that bias comes from many years of experience covering government and politics, and just the institutional knowledge and the ability to you know connect the dots, because a lot of people don't know where these public records can be found that show who's funding the campaigns and how the people vote afterwards when in favor of those contributors. And so that's what I try to do, is I try to shed light on those things. And I am an equal opportunity hater. And there's nobody's a
I
sacred
mean
cow.
that you are unbiased is because nobody really knows your political affiliation. We know when you like somebody and when you don't like somebody, and you say why and you back it up. But what meant with that, I think, more than anything, is that you know whatever side of the political spectrum you're on. And in full disclosure, when I was running, you were very, very fair to me. Even though we're not on the same necessarily political side. So I think that you're very unbiased in that sense.
Well,
You know,
you're lucky you were a good candidate, but you're right that
well, thank
everybody's
you.
fair game. Everybody's fair game. I'm not on one side or the other. And the people I do sometimes like later disappoint me, and if you burn me, I'll burn you back. Or if you burn the voters, then I'm gonna tell people what you're doing, even though I may have liked you once.
It should be that way, though. It should
It
be that
should.
way, especially because we don't have like that historical knowledge for Miami-Dade County. So a lot of people forget. And so it would be really nice to, keep in mind when politicians do bad things. Because like we're saying, incumbents, the name recognition, people just vote based on that. So it's good to have, some, hey, remember that guy? Well, you remember his name for the wrong reasons. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. You remember his name not because he's great. And, we do have the dynasty families, and we should really be remembering those names.
Yeah.
Um, State
They'll
Rep
come up later.
107. I'm sorry.
They'll come up later.
They will come up. Wallace Aristide, he ran 2 years ago. L'Oreal Scott, Monique Barley Mayo. I like her. I've met her. Juancito Francis Fraudlin Pierre and Christine San and Jules Olivo. So I don't really know except for those two who ran before, and I met them while I was campaigning as well. Um, Seems like a lot of people. Oh, that's on the Democrat side. See,
Yeah,
they
that's on the
mix them
Democrat
in.
side, but that's going to be whoever wins this primary is going to win that seat because that's a very Democrat district. So that's a given, and I do like Monique Barley. I'm confident that she'll do better this time because she has good name recognition. But yeah, that whoever wins today in the Democratic primary is going to win that seat in November. That's a solid blue seat.
Oh,
So.
well, then let's hope for. I guess. Do you have any preference on which one?
Well, District 115 is the opposite. State Rep District 115 is a very red seat. So whoever wins the primary today in the Republican primary, I don't even think there's a Democrat primary. I don't even know because it doesn't matter. Whoever
Well, in
wins,
115, I guess you have Moises Ben Habib, which I don't know who that is. Omar Blanco, pretty much everyone in Miami knows him. He used to be a firefighter. And then Alain Colasso, that I know personally from my work with the Cuba stuff. So um, there are the three candidates for 115. And like you said, it's probably whoever wins that seat will probably win it in November.
yeah, and that's gonna be that'll be an interesting seat. That's another one that gives me a stomach ache, only because of some of the people that are backing Mr. Collazo and how he registered to vote in the district in February at the home of a state senator. To me,
Mhm.
it just always smelled bad.
It,
Frank.
I know him personally, like I said. So to me, this is one of those where I wanted to call him up and be like, "This is just so not cool, man." But I didn't because it's really none of my business. But I will tell people I don't appreciate when people who don't live in a district run for that district. The rules are there, whether you like them or not. This is how we keep how we do things, and violating that rule before you even get in is,
Well,
not
what
great. I
happens is that you allow people who are not really in it for, the interests of the community, because they're not part of the community, but are in it for the interests of somebody else, i.e., Tallahassee or something. Then that's what happens. They take advantage of these situations. I mean, remember, the ghost candidate in 2022, was it, that stole basically an election? So that can happen, if in these cases, if people are not aware of it.
Right. Yep, absolutely. I see another dynasty name on the ballot for District 109 on the Democrat side. I'm guessing Roy Hardimon is a dynasty.
Yeah, I think he's Keon's uncle. And I think he may be the former state rep. The family is full of political animals. He's definitely the favorite in that district. So I think that he's gonna take it today. And again, it's another district that I think is gonna stay blue in November. So whoever wins today will likely win the general election as well.
Yep, and well, we'll find out if Hardemon name is enough name recognition to win it. Ooh, the sheriff on the Republican side. Um,
That's a fun race.
that is a race. Do you have any predictions on that one?
Well, I mean, I think it's going to be either Rosanna, Rosie Cordero Stutz, or Joe Sanchez. I mean, that's what the polls have consistently shown for the last few weeks. I think it's because Joe Sanchez has the big name recognition and a lot of money in his pack, even though not as much as Joe Martinez. And Rosie Cordero Stutz has that Trump endorsement, which she's been, blasting everywhere on radio and in
I mean,
signs and
wouldn't
in
you?
social media. No, of course. I mean, let's put it this way. Nobody knew this. There's no way that she would be doing this well if she didn't have that endorsement. But if she wins, like I said, she's going to have to walk it back a little bit for November. I do know that she has publicly said that she doesn't think the 2020 election was stolen, which is good, and that she would not round up immigrants for deportation as one
Imagine saying
presidential
that in
candidate.
Miami.
Yeah, yeah. You can, even if you were going to do it, you couldn't say it, right? So
Right. I
yeah.
mean, could you imagine? Like, I'm going to round up all of these immigrants, and the entire city is pretty much immigrants.
Well, there's been some candidates, particularly, I can't remember, I'm not going to say because I can't remember which one, but there was one candidate, Republican candidate in this very crowded race that had a commercial saying that, he would, deport immigrants. So he was out there saying that he would work with Donald Trump to deport, illegal immigrants from Miami-Dade. That's interesting. Let's see how he does. And
Oof.
yeah.
I can't imagine that being like the winning issue, to be honest.
Well, he's not polling very well, so
Well, that explains it.
I think it's going to be either Rosie or Joe against. Even though obviously there's others who are doing very well. Mario Knapp has been consistently in third place. Joe Martinez, just because of the amount of money that he spent in the last couple of weeks, has been, and I don't know what it is. It's not reported, but it's it's up there because of all the text messages that people have gotten, and the spending that he's done. I think that he's going up in the polls, and there's who else was it that was doing well? Well, Jose Aragu has a lot of money because he got that $300,000 contribution from hedge fund magnate Ken Griffin, which is so weird. And then Iggy Alvarez is, I think is going to surprise people. He's going to do a lot better, but he's not. Maybe come in fourth or fifth. You know, I think some of these people might run for, again, for some other office, perhaps county commission, perhaps city commission, perhaps state attorney. Hint,
Oh
hint.
boy.
So
Yeah.
we'll
Oh
see.
boy. Yep. Joe Martinez is one of those that I find to just be funny that he's running at all. Considering I guess the bad press, but yeah, I don't
Not just
know.
the bad press. He's facing a trial for public corruption. It's not just bad press. It's that he was arrested and suspended. So it's bad press, but it's also an actual case. Which is kind of weird because I think that if he were to be elected, the governor would just go turn around and suspend him again. He was suspended from Miami-Dade Commission because he was arrested on public corruption charges. Why wouldn't the same thing happen? It's just
Right.
weird that it's just strange that he jumped in very late in this race and thinks that he can actually turn. Also remember, he failed miserably sorry, in the congressional race that he ran a few years back. He failed in the mayoral race that he ran. So I think Joe Martinez is a very regional type of elected, where if he were to run in District 11, maybe he could get elected again. But I don't know if in county-wide election he can appeal to that many voters.
Isn't it wild though? Like with as much corruption as you, I'm gonna. Well, I'm speaking for you. As much corruption as I've seen in Miami-Dade County, I do find it weird that Martinez was removed. Was even removed, especially because there's just so much. Like I don't see how his $10,000 check is more, corruption than, let's say, the $10,000 check that Rob Gonzalez gave to Jar of Hearts, for example. Like, there's so much corruption that I can't imagine why he was removed versus some of the other commissioners.
Well,
I
what he says is that he's targeted because he was going to be. I mean, before he was his arrest, he was the front running candidate for the sheriff Republican primary. Let's face it,
right.
and you know, he's only
So
a
do you think this is an
non-starter because
a
of that
hit from his
arrest.
own party?
Um, I do think that Joe Martinez doesn't play nice with anybody. Joe Martinez is Joe Martinez. He's going to do whatever he wants. He's going to do, maybe what the people want, but what he thinks is best. And so he's probably not as malleable or controllable by the party as I hate to say it, but Roberto Gonzalez, who was appointed by uh,
By
Ron DeSantis,
DeSantis.
right?
Yep.
And
And had
more
lost his
people
race,
and
so he
and
wasn't beloved by the people either. He
he
lost his
lost his
race.
state race and then he was appointed to county commissioner, and now he might be facing a runoff. I mean, if the third candidate in the race takes enough votes, which I don't know if it's going to happen. I do predict that Gonzalez, because he's just got more money and the name recognition in that district, that he might win today. But it's a real shame,
Yeah, I mean,
because
that's the same thing as what's her name? I know our dear friend calls her Meghan Markle, but right now I'm drawing a blank.
Danielle Cohen Higgins.
Ah, thank you so much. Yes. Um
Meghan Markle,
you know what I'm
doppelganger.
talking about.
Yes, I do. We should put pictures side by side, definitely.
They do look kind of like, yeah, so this is the same play. So, Mayor Daniela Levin Cava nominated her or put her in that position, and then she ran and she won in a landslide. So it's just kind of what happens. Again, that name recognition is just so much. And Rob has taken full advantage of that. He's given out paperwork with, his name and face on it. It's on all of the trucks that they use. He's been using his, so I mean, like, there's an advantage to already being in office.
A
The mayor is
huge,
doing that
huge.
too. It's a huge advantage. There's no way you could buy that kind of name recognition as an independent candidate.
No,
So
it's
I mean,
it's
it
an
was
enormous
definitely.
advantage. I mean, look at the Democratic sheriff candidate, James Reyes. He how many events did he, attend that were supposedly while he was quote unquote on duty, but that obviously looked like he was campaigning, like a Venezuelan rally, where he was on stage, riling the crowd up. I mean, that's not the job of our public safety director. So, if he was there in his capacity working, what the heck, So,
Hmm.
yeah, he's also the mayor, and James Reyes, and obviously the incumbents, Kian Hardeman, Rob Gonzalez, Raquel Regalado, have all been able to enjoy the power of incumbency, having workshops with different community members, and getting also interviews on the radio is a lot easier for them than for their challengers. So yeah, the power of incumbency is really there.
It's really strong. It pays to get appointed by the governor or by the mayor, or, And note to self: if you ever want to run again, definitely
Yeah,
make sure you get appointed to something first.
that might be
Um,
the case with Mary Blanco too. In one of the school board races, she was
mhm.
also a Governor DeSantis appointee. So she's got two people running against her. Javi Perez, a former principal who I don't know if you know was involved in that terrible accident where he lost both his legs.
Oh, yes. So one at the baseball field.
Exactly, that's the one.
Oh, he's beloved, isn't he?
He is very beloved, but I don't know if it's
Enough.
I don't know if it's enough. And then there's
Yeah.
Max Touchman, who's a former educator and now like a tech executive or tech entrepreneur. Um, and she's been working really a lot. Like I think that in my neighborhood alone, because that's my district, we've seen her like two or three times walking around
Oh, wow.
herself, not her people, which is interesting. So yeah, and again, to go back to the commission race, against Rob Gonzalez, we have Brian Paz Hernandez, who I would just, say, oh, hasn't got a chance, but he's been knocking on doors, and between him and his team, they've knocked on more than 3,000 doors, in the past 6 months. I do think that people don't know Rob Gonzalez yet in that district. You know what I mean? They've never voted for him before. So that gives Brian Paz Hernandez some some more of a chance than if he had been a true incumbent that had been on the ballot before and
That's
won.
true. That's a good point. I mean, I just think that those trucks and all that social media and all that stuff it's just
Just
going to be so hard.
the sign
Um,
at the parks, right? The signs at the
right,
parks. It's
everything.
ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that and then the signs that my current commissioner and I live right on the line between District 11 and District 10, so I see the ones from my current commissioner and the Rob Gonzalez signs everywhere, and it's like you're now entering. It's like who cares? Who cares? Why is that here?
Well, you know why. I know you know why, and I know why. But
I don't
and it
think
should
they'd be
not
doing it.
be. It's not appropriate. It should not be allowed. It should be something that the county commission changes. We don't need the commissioner's name to be on the park sign. The commissioner's going to change. The park never will. It's not
Right.
the park's not
Name
there
the
because of the
park.
commissioner.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
please.
Absolutely. It's just a waste of taxpayer money, but so is so much of this that it's annoying. So the polls have officially closed 15 minutes ago, and
Yep,
I keep
I've been
refreshing,
refreshing. I've been
and
refreshing.
nothing has come up just yet.
No,
It
zero,
should
zero,
be
zero.
there.
Yeah, no, gotta wait,
Yep.
gotta wait, gotta give it a little time. Gotta give those machines
Got to
time
give
to.
it some time.
Well,
Ay, ay,
I
ay.
just got a text message from a friend of mine who made it 6:50 p.m. Woo! So, there were still people voting up until the
Everybody's getting
last
those
minute.
votes in.
Yeah. And by the way, if you were in line at 7 o'clock and you still haven't voted, you have the right to vote. They can't turn you away. I don't know how many people know that. I'm gonna have to put that out there before November because if you're, I don't know if this counts now because there certainly haven't been any lines. But if you're in line when the polls close, they still have to let you vote.
Right. They
So
still have to let you vote, but I mean, today you had not a problem.
yeah, today was
I
like
don't know of
easy
any
breezy,
polling location.
easy
Yeah.
breezy
Today there was
Cuttleville
no
today.
reason for you not to go vote.
Yes,
And I'm
absolutely.
guessing that the polls closed at 7 on the dot because that's just,
Yeah, I hope so.
um, so apparently the Democrats, if these are the final numbers since the polls closed, Democrats got in
Oh,
118,000 votes versus Republicans 116,000. So it
okay,
is going to be neck and neck. So if those numbers hold true, let's hope that the mayoral race was not decided today.
okay.
That would be terrible.
Well, I am looking at the first numbers, which I think are just the oh god, just the mail-in ballots. Okay, if you refresh, you'll see on your screen. And just for the mail-in ballots, Daniela Levine Cava has just over 60% of the vote. Yes, Manny Sid is next with like 21%, so that's not going to be enough to force a runoff. I don't know if he can make that up with the early voting and election day, even though we do know that Republicans beat Democrats in the numbers today and all through early voting. So it's still, I don't know, the vote gap is so huge. Did you see that? It's like 80,000.
I'm refreshing. Let me go to my computer versus my iPad because I believe that my thing
Yeah.
is my screen is kind of giving me an issue. So let me see
Yeah.
if I can see that on my computer versus but that would be absolutely terrible.
Yeah, it would be only because I don't think we really got a chance to talk about the issues. The mayor has not. I mean, I don't. I
What screen are you seeing pardon the
No.
interruption.
Now
What
I'm
screen
looking
are
at
you
the
seeing
election
it on?
results. You are you looking at the election results with the 000?
I'm still in the primary election results. Where do you see them?
No, you're still in the unofficial voter turnout. You have
Oh,
to go
okay, that's why I
back
can't
and
find it.
then go to on the top corner of the page. It'll say, I think, hang on, where does it say results? August 20 primary election results in the second blue box from the top. And you click on that and you'll get the results so far, which, as we said, Rick Scott is blowing it out of the water, and so is Maria Elvira Salazar. Each of them have close to
Mm,
90% of
I'm
the
looking
vote.
for mine. Do you want to post it in the comments below so that everybody can go look at where those election results are? Because I'm looking for it, and I'm telling you, I hate the Miami-Dade websites. It's you've got to know where to look.
Is this where I post it? Let's see.
Yeah, you can post a link at the bottom. Like there's a bubble,
Oh,
like a
I
chat
see.
bubble. You can post it there. Oh, yep, I got it. Thank you. Alrighty. Oh, yep, there we go.
Yeah.
So Rib Scott, there, yeah, he's definitely taking that one for sure. I don't think there's any way that's gonna um, fix itself. Mario Diaz-Balart probably gonna take that one too. Uh, Congress District 24 is still a toss up. Congress District 27, Maria Elvira Salazar has that one in the bag for the Republicans. Toss up at State Rep District 106. Omar Blanco, as we had said, we predicted, is probably going to take 115. I mean, Alain actually did a 27% so far. That's
That
respectable.
is respectable.
Um, mm-hmm. That's a solid second place.
Yeah.
Sheriff, too close to call yet, but Rosie is in the lead.
Wow. With like by 1%, less than 1 percentage point. So that is, I knew it was going to be close between them two. So, and the tax
Mm-hmm.
collector race is also closer than I thought. Um, Interesting.
Who did you think was going to come up
No,
on top on
I
the
think
tax
Ariel
collector?
Fernandez was going to win just because he has the establishment behind him, but I didn't think it was going to be this, 5 points. I thought it was going to be a lot wider. Let's
Is there a Democrat running for tax
There
collector?
is David Richardson, who's a former state representative and former Miami Beach commissioner, but he doesn't have a challenger, so there was no Democrat tax collector primary.
Primary.
Right.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So that's going to be interesting. Who people prefer to collect their taxes, the Republican or the Democrat later on. But for now, it's still neck and neck between Brian Calvo and Dariel Fernandez,
Yes.
who I saw today at the polling location. He was at Westchester today. Um, Republican state. I'm not very. I don't really care much for the Republican XCOM. I don't care. If somebody
Well,
wants those numbers, I'm happy to give them. But
why? Why are you avoiding those numbers? Why are you avoiding that race? Is it
because because I'm not a Republican, so I don't care who wins
but
the
I think it's important.
runs within the
I
party.
think it's important that 21,298 people, 21,298 Republicans in the county voted for Alex Diaz de la Portilla, who is facing, is it 10, 11, or 12 felony charges related to bribery and money laundering in a pay for play scheme where he was with more than $250,000 were funneled to him through his PAC. I mean, I cannot believe anybody voted for him, let alone 21,298 people. Shame on you all. It does look like Kevin Marino Cabrera, Commissioner Cabrera, is going to win that race, as he should. Also, we have former Commissioner Bruno Barrero running. I don't know who John Del Valle Lyons is. No relation.
I was gonna ask you any
No,
relationship there.
I'm a Del Valle, but no, there's no relation with there. And Chris Barcenas, I don't know who he is, but I heard he's affiliated with a special interest group that
Uh-oh.
is kind of, well, don't you know?
Yes, I do actually, but I also do know of him and I have met him.
Okay. Well, I don't know him,
Wasn't he the
but I know that there's a lot of the influence of his group in the Republican committee, or there was last year. I don't know if there still is. But it's
Yeah, I'm
interesting
surprised
that
to see
he's
so
not.
much love for
Yeah,
yeah.
it's interesting that he's not. He's far behind the three known names. The two former electeds and the current electeds, which again, we'll just keep recycling the same people, right?
We do. And the funny thing is that Alex de la Portilla, another dynasty family, even with all of those allegations, there he is. just riding really high in second place.
I know.
But I just mean like the the excom for any of the political parties. I don't really care very much for it. So,
Yeah, I mean they don't have.
Republican State Executive State Committee woman, like, don't really care. I don't know who Liliana Roos is, but she's taking the lead there with 55%. Like, I just, yeah, these are, I don't know who most of these people are, and I don't really care for them. And if people want to hear these results, we'll definitely give them to them, but just not that interesting to me.
Yeah.
Republican, Democrat, the ones that I cared about most during my lifetime was the libertarian ones, and I don't really care for those much either. So,
You sound like me. I don't care for the. I
yeah,
don't care for
the
those
people who
people.
run the party, yeah, the people who run the party. I mean, somebody's got to do it. It's they're political parties, and political parties are here to gain more power. So
Yeah.
I can skip over all of those people. They don't have an effect on my life really. Trying to fast forward through all of these and see anything interesting coming out so far. I wonder when these numbers will be called, when it'll be. So for the Democrat side, Debbie Murkowski Powell, as you said, is coming out ahead. She's at 68%.
Yep.
So even though these aren't official numbers, it's going to be really hard for anyone to catch
Yeah, they
up.
can't. They can't come back from that. There's a 30,000 vote gap. They're not going to be able. Nobody's going to be able to come back from that. So we're going to see Debbie
Right.
McCarcel Powell versus Rick Scott in November, as expected.
We will see that. Yep. I'm a little surprised that Wallace Aristide is taking the lead on the Dem side for District 107. Monique Barley so far is it tied for fourth place.
Yeah, that is surprising, but I mean, maybe because Aristide has much more name recognition, so that might be.
He was a school uh yeah, I don't
Was he on the
remember like
school
what
board? He
position,
wasn't on
but
the school board.
no, not on the school board. I think he was the principal of a school, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh yes, I do believe he was an educator. Yes,
Yeah.
and
So he's educated students for decades. So I guess that's more name recognition.
yeah,
And they probably know him personally, so that does mean a lot. Surprised to see Roy Hardiman at 16%
well,
versus Ashley
I forgot that Ashley
Gant.
Gant was in that race. Ashley Gant is a big player in the Democratic Party. So I forgot that she was in that race and that James Bush was in that race as well. James Bush is a former state rep who, keeps running for something and he's a perennial candidate who keeps losing. But, Roy Hardiman comes in third against both of them. So that's very, very interesting that he did that poorly. I would not have expected that.
Ooh, Juan JC Planas. It looks like he's taking the lead for supervisor of elections on the Democrat side,
Yep. Yeah, I expected that. I mean, Howard Willis,
even without the mayoral
even
endorsement.
without the mayoral endorsement, I mean, the mayor didn't endorse anybody else. And, even though Willis Howard, did, he's a political operative, so he knows how to do this. He campaigned well. I think that his support is, limited. It's where you call it's like, it might be deep, but it's not wide, where Juan Carlos Planas has wide support, if you understand what I mean. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. That's just a great way of putting it. Circuit Judge, 11th District, Jason Edward Bloch is at 62. Bonita Jones Peabody is at 37. Eloisa Correa, still kind of close without it being official, so 52 to 47% against Cristobal David Padron. Um, the other judges are kind of split three ways. And then Rita Maria Baez and Christopher Green are split almost exactly 50-50. Commissioner for District 3, Keon Hardiman, retains his spot.
Yep. No runoff with Audrey Edmondson. I'm not surprised. Like we said, the power of incumbency is strong. And he did spend a lot of money. I don't know if you saw the commercial for him on TV. I think it was. I don't know if it was over the weekend, maybe on This Week in South Florida, but he had DJ Khaled, Snoop Dogg, Luther Campbell. He had all these like hip hop and rap
Oh yeah,
stars,
I saw that.
endorsing him.
Yep.
I think that speaks volumes in that district, and I think that that's. I mean, it certainly spoke to me, and I don't live in that district. So
He pulled out the big
yeah,
guns. I did see Snoop saying "my little brother" or something like that, like "vote for my little brother." So I was like, "Oh well, there it
yeah,
goes. He's
yeah.
winning." You're right. Looks like Raquel Regalado has a runoff election she's got to
It
face.
does look like that. They're like almost dead even. Also, she's got like only a small, less than 2 percentage points over Cindy Lerner, who's the former Pinecrest mayor and one-time state rep. And this is like a rematch because they were forced into
Mm-hmm.
a runoff 4 years ago. So this is going to be fun. You know that
Oh boy, Roberto Gonzalez gets to keep his spot.
Yes, of course. I did think that was going to happen. Brian Paz Hernandez, he worked very hard. I think he did decent with 27% at least. That's going to hopefully that'll climb a little bit. But yeah, I mean, like we said, it's hard to beat the Robert Gonzalez signs everywhere.
Yep, and the name recognition is just
Yep.
everywhere. I'm so disappointed at this county mayor turnout. Everyone, I hope you all are prepared for an increase of another $2 billion in our taxes. It's just, God, really? Really?
Yeah.
Did you have a favorite?
I wanted a runoff. I wanted to see her up 1-1 against Manny Sid. And yeah, I'm very disappointed. I don't think that this is a gap that he can come back from either. We're talking about, like 40 percentage points almost. It's
Right.
just not.
I'm surprised that Otaola got 11%, honestly.
Well, I'm not. There are a lot of uneducated voters out there, and he said the magic words, right? He's going to set up communist review committees, to root out the communists in this county, and so there are people who actually believe that. So I'm not
He could
surprised.
have won me over more with I'm going to set up learning English to be able to do the job. Would have maybe worked a little better for me than that.
Maybe that's true too. I mean, between him and Dariel Fernandez, we would have had people who can't speak English, heading our government. But no, I'm glad that he didn't get as much as he got, but he's not gone. This guy's gonna run for office again. So be warned.
You mean Alex or
Alex
Manny?
Otaola. No, I think Manny.
Oh,
I don't know. I don't know if Manny's going to run for office again. I mean, what can he run for? He's not. He's not going to run for state office because he doesn't have the Republican establishment support. So, and that's what.
that's surprising
Yeah,
to
that's
me.
what happened. Basically, I think if he had had some Republican establishment support, maybe the gap wouldn't have been as wide. But they just did not back him at all.
Yeah, and that really is surprising. He's been a good mayor in Miami Lakes.
He's been a good mayor. He's paid his dues, but again, we're talking about somebody like Joe Martinez that doesn't take nothing from nobody. He's gonna do what he wants. He's turned off, I think, the leaders in Hialeah, with that fight over the bridge, and he's turned off a lot of people, I think, in Tallahassee as well, with some of the people that he's supported and the issues that he's gone against, like the blast mining, for example. So yeah, there wasn't that kind of support. I think that the Republican Party is looking at, and I've written this, so it's no surprise. It won't be surprise to many readers. Is looking at Speaker Danny Perez, beyond his
Hmm.
speakership, like what they can do with him, and I think that they, if Daniela does go to a White House position in a Kamala Harris White House, or if she does something else, runs for governor or whatnot, they're thinking about running Danny Perez for mayor of Miami-Dade. So I think
Wow.
that's why they didn't support Manny Sid. They want to leave it open. It's easier to support somebody. Manny Sid wouldn't leave for 8 years. So
Right. That is really crazy, actually. Just thinking about that's the level of um, I don't know. Is deception the right word? When
manipulation,
it's
yes, that's the level of manipulation that that our elections have gotten to. Absolutely.
yeah, it's just wild to me that they're going against people within their own party. Um, to play that game, and they're willing to lose it all just to play a
Yep.
game. I don't know
Well, one
how that
Republican
benefits
insider told me
the residents.
well, the way one Republican insider explained it to me is that it's the long game, not the short game that they're playing. So, whatever that means.
Well, yeah, they want their people, their yes men,
Yeah.
oh, that is so terrible.
Well,
Okay,
it
so it
looks like
just
DeValle
refreshed for
Living
me.
Cava has been reelected today. So congratulations to La Condesa. She doesn't have to run again in November, which is sad for us, but I'm sure she's going to be happy. That's going to be a nice party.
It is going to be a nice party, especially for those people that would have lost their jobs if Manny Sid would have won.
Yeah, yeah, and for the people who have contracts with the county as well. The party, by the
Oh yeah,
way,
that too.
if anybody wants to go, is at Ball and Chain tonight. It's also where James Reyes will be celebrating his victory in the Democratic primary for sheriff. So that's going to be.
Are you going to be heading out to
I
that?
am not going to be heading out to that. I'm going to be making popcorn and watching the Democrat National Convention on TV because I'm a nerd.
Yeah, you're gonna need some popcorn or maybe something a little stronger for that
Popcorn
one.
and tequila.
Um,
I'll take a shot every.
South Miami issue bonds borrow money. That one is a 55% yes. Miami gym equipment at Maurice Ferrer Park. That is an overwhelming
Wow.
yes. Miami to create an independent inspector general. That is an overwhelming yes. Miami eliminate independent auditor general. What?
Well,
That is a
yes,
yes?
because they're eliminating the Auditor General's office to create the Independent Inspector General office. The Auditor General, which they've had for years, doesn't really have a lot of power. It doesn't have subpoena power, and it really hasn't. I mean, look at all the things that are happening in the city of Miami. Gotta catch myself. And, you would think that an auditor general would be reporting and investigating these things, but they're not. So whoever has that position, they're out. Miami's going to create now an independent inspector general. We got to stay on top of this though, because the way that it's created, the way the inspector general is going to be chosen, the way the office is funded, it's not. I mean, how independent is it if it's going to be funded by the Miami Commission? So it's still something we got to keep an eye on. But I support wholeheartedly an inspector general rather than an auditor general because there are more powers, and maybe we can get to the bottom of some of the things that we still don't know about, like the COVID gift cards that disappeared. So
No, that's a good point. Yeah. Okay. You've changed my view on that one. That's a good Miami Gardens mayor, Rodney Harris. I'm just looking to see what else may have school board member District 9, Luisa Santos seems to have
yeah,
taken it,
she's the
63%.
incumbent as well. So that's
Mary Blanco's at 42 with Max Tuckman at 33. So that's still in a we shall see
yeah.
position. School board District 3 is between Martin Karp and Joseph Geller.
Again,
Yeah,
recycled names. I mean, it's like these are people who are running purely on name recognition for the most part. You know.
and voter turnout for all of Miami-Dade was 14.44% of the people that can actually vote. So that's pretty low, but to be expected. So that 14% chose for all of
Well,
us.
I think that's what they've
Uh,
counted so far. I think it's going to go up a little bit to like 18 or 19% because look, the ballots cast is 212, and we know that there's 280,000 ballots cast, including the ones that were cast today. So now the numbers that are being reported are all the early votes, part of the vote by mail. So I was wrong before. It was early votes and part of the vote by mail, and then part of the election day. So nothing has really changed, however, than from what we said. Like there's still, it's still going to be a Scott Mucarsel Powell race. It's still Daniela Levine Cava all the way without any type of runoff. And in the close races, let's see. It's still, we still have Ashley Gant. We still have James Reyes. Yeah, I mean, everything's still the same. We're going to, we're obviously looking at a very possible runoff in District 7. The other districts, Rob Gonzalez is going to take it in District 11. Keon
Hmm.
Hardeman's going to take it in District 3. So
What happens on the Republican tax collector if both are pretty much at that 50% mark?
well, if they, once all the votes are counted, if there's less than a point, I think it's a 0.5 percentage difference, they can request a manual recount, and which sometimes happens. I mean, I think that happened a couple of years ago. I can't remember what race, but there have been manual recounts, and then the results won't be official until after that.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, looks like that might be a case here, although Dariel Fernandez has a little bit of a lead, so we'll see what happens there. Um, yeah, it looks like the race is pretty much decided
Yeah, the only other interesting
across the
thing for
board.
me is the question in Coral Gables. The annexation question has lost. Coral Gables voters were asked a non-binding question whether or not they would be willing to annex the Little Gables neighborhood and absorb all the associated annexation costs, which were the keywords on the ballot language. So the voters voted no with 62% of the voters. And I'm going to say that that's also kind of uh, a referendum on the mayor, Vince Lago, who's been pushing this referendum really hard, and has been pushing a yes vote on this as well. So that'll be interesting to see what happens next there.
Why do you think people voted no for that? Do they not want to annex it? Is it the cost? What do
I
you
think it's the
think?
cost.
I know you follow Coral Gables quite
Yeah,
a
I think
bit.
it's this has been an issue for decades, the annexation of Little Gables, and frankly, there are very good reasons to do it. It's an enclave, which means that it's surrounded on three sides by Coral Gables and one side by the city of Miami, so it's not contiguous to any other unincorporated Miami-Dade part. It's it's been there, like it gets serviced by Miami-Dade. But obviously it's right adjacent to Coral Gables in Miami, so there's a lot of bleed over for crime and fire rescue, for police and fire rescue services. Um, but if it were to become part of Coral Gables completely, then they would only be served by Coral Gables Police and Fire. They would be served by Coral Gables Code Enforcement, Coral Gables Garbage, because they have their own garbage collection. And all of these things would cost the city 23.5 million in the first 5 years of the annexation. The Coral Gables residents don't feel like they're getting much in return, even though the mayor and advocates for the annexation have said that what they get is a safer border because they can close that whole section off, and that all of that is now Coral Gables, and they can patrol it and control the code, the zoning and whatnot. But there are people who don't want to absorb it, and then there are people who are suspicious, and I may count myself among them, that there are some other hidden agendas behind this annexation effort. There's a very large property that's owned by uh, a development group that is represented or has been represented in the past by the mayor's lobbyist brother. That's the trailer park. And there are already plans on paper to turn it into a very posh village of luxurious homes called the Moorish Village in the same way that the Coral Gables has the Dutch Village and the Chinese Village and different themed areas where the homes are built to a certain style. I think that there are a lot of people who are suspicious of that, and so they're voting no against annexation. This is a non-binding question. They don't have to do this. The city can still go ahead with the annexation, but they did this to supposedly gauge the pulse of the community. So if the community is telling them no, it's going to be harder for them to move forward.
But not
But
impossible, which is the operative word there. It's non-binding. We'll do what we want, but kind of give us your opinion.
yeah, your opinion
Um,
only matters if you
I
had said
I
yes. If they said no, they'll come up with a million
right.
different reasons why. Oh, they weren't informed. The nefarious blogs did us damage. The low turnout. They'll come up with a million reasons. You know.
I see so many community leaders here listening to us. So if anybody wants to chime in, Just go ahead and request. I'd love to have your opinions. Danny, if you have any numbers you want to throw at us, please go ahead and just request. Let's hear it. Let's open it up to other people if you're okay with that, Elaine.
Absolutely.
Just because we're pretty much at the end. We kind of I don't know about you. I'm like kind of disappointed with the results. Not gonna lie. I think some of these are just kind of let's see. It's just kind of
Yeah,
uh
anticlimactic, right? I mean,
yeah,
definitely.
yeah, very anticlimactic. Yep, definitely, definitely kind of Ariel, hi, welcome to the stage.
Hi, hi Martha. Hi Elaine.
Hi, Ariel.
Good to see y'all. To everyone listening, I'm the chairman of the Miami-Dade County LGBTQ Advisory Board, completely appointed position. But been really listening to everything y'all are saying, and one thing that is sticking out to me is the Republican race for sheriff. It's neck and neck between Rosie and Joe, which that's what the polls have been showing this whole time. So that's going to be interesting to see who is going to go against James Reyes in November.
So are you
Yeah,
gonna?
no, you're right. Go ahead. It's all yours.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Did y'all hear the part that I said about the Republican race for sheriff?
Yeah. I heard you, and I
Yes, yes,
completely
yes, we're just
agree.
asking you.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's gonna. I think that's the one that we have to keep an eye on all night because it's so close. I mean, how many votes are they
It's like
apart?
200 votes apart.
Yeah, that's really nothing. That with when you're still counting votes. I mean, the precincts reporting are they don't have all the precincts reported, so they're still counting votes. That could go either way.
Correct.
and
Correct.
and I think that Dario Fernandez, Brian Calvo, even though it's gotten closer, it's now 52-48. I think we can pretty much call it for Dario at this point. I don't know,
Correct.
maybe not. I mean, it's 3,000 some votes, so there's still a
It's a little
possibility,
close.
but
Yeah.
it's a little closer than it
It's
was.
close. It's yeah. Uh, maybe. So on the sheriff, Ariel, did you have a preference amongst them or?
It's hard to tell. There are some that were qualified, and some that were just running to run. I just think it's interesting how the Trump endorsement. I'm nonpartisan myself, so it's interesting how the Trump endorsement has an effect on voters, and that was a big question, coming into this race for a lot of people. And right now, they just updated the precincts reporting. We have 242 precincts now out of 751, and it's still neck and neck between Joe and Rosie.
Okay.
That is very close. I also invited Danny up to the stage. Danny, you have something to chime in?
I'm sorry. I had a really nasty fall on Friday, so I haven't even been on the computer since Friday night.
You unmuted, but I'm not sure if you were speaking because I can't hear you.
Are you able to hear me? Hello?
Elaine, can you hear
I
Danny?
cannot.
Hold on a
Okay,
second.
Danny, I don't know if you're speaking. If you're trying to speak, we can't hear you. If you drop down and come right back up, it'll fix itself. Sometimes it helps to like exit the space and then come back in. Yeah, I don't know if she can hear us then. Um, she dropped down. Okay, hopefully she'll come back up to give her what she wanted to say. So, while we wait for that, I keep refreshing, and it's still only 242 are reporting. So there's still quite a bit. And then I go straight back to the mayor's race, which is the one that I was really hoping for a closer match, and that didn't happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it went down a little bit. Daniela now is not at 60%, but Manny Sid is at 21. So that's still quite a bit that he needs to
Yeah,
catch up
it's a
with.
hard with the sheriff's Republican primary. We're looking at, like Ariel said, 200, a little bit over 200 votes difference. With Daniela Levine Cava, the closest candidate to her is almost 80, more than 80,000 votes away. So that's going to be impossible for Manny Sid to make up. even,
Yeah.
I don't care how many precincts are left. It's not.
Yeah.
So he.
And the Otaola numbers keep growing, so that's also another,
Can I,
those two numbers combined might have been able to be closer to a runoff, but unfortunately that's not the case. Hey Danny, how are you?
hi guys, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Sorry about that. I had a bad fall on Friday, so I haven't been on the computer, but I was hearing about how far away Manny Sid was. Hilariously, one of the last things I looked at before I fell on Friday was Kava's reports, and a lot of Sid donors had switched to her at the last minute.
That is
Really?
Yeah,
interesting.
Do you know like which ones? Did anybody stick out to you who switched?
a few developers who had been supporting Sid.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Oof.
interesting. But it's not unusual to have big contributors, particularly developers, play both sides just to cover their bases.
Right.
You know.
Right.
So and as it
But doing it at the last minute,
yeah
that's where,
because it
you
became
know.
clear, I think, that she was going to win outright in the first round. That maybe there was some hope a few months ago, but I think that as we got closer, it became clear that the first round was definitely something that she could get. So
Wow. Yeah. I mean, well, we'll keep checking it. We'll keep checking it, but yeah, it does seem like that was an outright win. Still numbers are 242. So we're still waiting for updates.
yeah,
Sorry to hear about your fall. Is everything okay with you guys? I guess she's not. Danny?
did we lose her again?
Okay. I think so. We may have lost her again.
Well,
Yeah.
in District 7, we still have, no outright winner. Nobody's getting 50%. I mean, there's still time. Again, that's one of the races where we still might see a difference. Raquel Regalado is leading by almost 3 percentage points. So,
Mm-hmm.
that we could see, if that keeps climbing up, she could maybe get 50% plus one, but that looks like it's headed to a runoff.
Yeah, it looks like that one is definitely running into a runoff. Again, Commissioner District 11, Roberto Gonzalez. I doubt that one's going into
Yeah,
runoff.
no, I
That
doubt
is,
it too. Poor Brian. I feel bad for him because he worked really hard.
yeah. Yep. And I also feel bad for the people in District 11, but that's a whole other issue.
Yeah, when I do my winners and losers, I'll consider putting the residents of District 11 in the losers side.
I was just gonna,
Oh, man.
are you guys able to hear me?
Yes, Danny, go for it.
Okay, I was just going to say that Roberto Gonzalez had some of the worst campaign finance reports I've seen this cycle. Like,
Really?
yeah, like all the baddies were giving to him. Like all the red flags, all the developers, Transportation America, all the baddies.
A lot of PACs too is what I noticed. A lot of
Yes,
political
yes.
activity.
There was a whole bunch of money moving. I mean, Democrats did it too, but the Republicans, especially with it was through Cabrera's PAC, was moving a lot of money to Republican candidates this cycle. Also, Rodriguez's PAC, much like he did when he ran, was passing money around.
I'm always so curious to see the money laundering situation, and I just, is there any hope for the money laundering situation in Miami-Dade County, do you think? I kind of lost all hope. So I don't know, maybe Elaine, you have some, or Danny, you guys have some hope for the
Well,
future.
campaign finance reform, which is what I just I'm just assuming that you're talking about the money laundering among PACs, which is how they hide the true funders of any campaign or issue. Unfortunately, I think campaign finance reform only at the state.
You're cutting out, Elaine.
Well, can you hear me now? Why would they change it if it works for them?
Right, and we can't get anybody into office, so it's, changing it would be
It would
very
be very
difficult for the
difficult.
residents of
It would be
Miami-Dade.
very
Yeah.
difficult, because it works.
It would have, I was going to say, it would have to come from us getting something on the ballot and getting enough people to vote for it.
I agree. It's
That's
not
the
going to
only
come
way it's
from
going to
them.
happen.
I agree.
So how does that work for Miami-Dade County? So as somebody who's experienced with the Florida legislature to get stuff on the ballot, how does it work for Miami-Dade County? Do you guys know?
I don't know, but I would imagine that it's the same as it is in most municipalities where you would need like a certain percentage of the voters, registered voters, to sign the petition in order to get it on the ballot. Um, what you could do is something similar to what Miami Beach does, which limits the contributions that they can get from contractors that do business with the city, and also I don't know how they limit the people actually do, which is a way of getting around those. But at least they have some guardrails, which is what we need. We need more guardrails.
Elaine, I don't know why your microphone is sounding so. Is it just me? Jenny, do you hear her well?
I hear it. Yeah, it's a little bit like underwatery.
Garbled. Yeah, I
Okay.
hear like you're underwater a little
I'll
bit.
get closer to the mic. Is that better?
Much
Okay.
better.
But yeah, like what
So
Elaine was saying, I looked into it for city of Miami, and it's similar for the county. You just got to get a certain number of registered voters, and you can get it on the ballot.
so that seems like something we could potentially work on if we want to see less corruption in the county.
We
I,
definitely need it.
I think so, but I mean, it's once you get it on the ballot, then you're gonna be, you have to get the message out for people to vote yes, because they're gonna do a campaign against it, so you know
And that would be both parties that would campaign against it since it's such a big deal for them. So
exactly.
yeah, I mean, you would need like a really big name. We'd need I don't know, who's like the most popular Miami resident, Pitbull or somebody like that, DJ Khaled, some kind
Someone
of
like
heavy
that.
hitter.
It would have to be someone like
Right.
that. Maybe a Miami Heat player or somebody like that to raise the flag and be the flag bearer for this issue. That would be great.
Well,
I
we
would
know we can't count on Snoop Dogg, that's for sure.
I would sign up. I would sign up for sure. So
Yeah, I would too. I just, it gets frustrating. I think for those of us that follow these type of politics, it gets really frustrating year after year to watch corruption and stuff like that happen and nothing really change. Um, like I want to give people hope for the future, but if in Miami-Dade County where people really, they fled, a lot of most of our residents fled, whether it's internationally, people like Venezuela, Cuba, we have the international community that fled the corruption in their country and they came here for something different, or the New Yorkers, Californians, the people who fled their more local regimes for more freedom. It's so annoying that this is where we are. Am I alone in this? Like, how do you guys feel?
no, I agree. I particularly feel that it's unfortunate that in this community also we see so many people that have fled totalitarian regimes. We have campaigns where, just saying the word, socialist or communist will sway so many voters. I think that's, I'm like always surprised that we're still doing that in 2024. It reminds me of 1983, and I'm like, why are people still?
1983 or 1984?
Yeah,
Was
both.
that a book reference or a political party reference? I mean,
No, really, absolutely. I mean, it's like I can't believe that
can you
people.
get closer again to the phone? I'm
I'm
again hearing you
okay.
kind of underwater.
I'm here again. I
Sorry.
can't believe that people still fall for it, but they do. They do. That's how Alex Otaola got so many votes.
That's true. I mean, I have nothing against Alex Otola. I don't really follow him. I don't know much about him other than his stances on the Cuban political scene. But I've never seen him at a commission meeting, and that to me is one of the things. I just can't vote for somebody who's never been involved in local politics. It makes no sense,
Yeah.
and who doesn't speak the language. But That
But
didn't
yeah,
seem to stop a lot of people.
one of the problems are people are still like, my party will save the country. And I keep trying to explain to them that the party system doesn't care, even if they don't care about your votes, as long as you're getting the money. And controversy alone is enough to bring in the money. So as long as we're afraid and immediately demonize the other party, both parties are profiting.
Right. And it's
Hmm.
unfortunate that many of the nonpartisan races in Miami-Dade have become so partisan. I really don't think that the sheriff's position should be a partisan race. I don't understand why the supervisor of elections is a partisan race. It just seems like it's so it just seems like it's anti. What's the word I'm looking for? It just seems wrong, frankly.
It does seem wrong, especially because a supervisor of election, I want them to not be partisan.
Exactly. Exactly. You know.
I want my supervisor of election to kind of not have a dog in this race, a pony in this race, whatever you want to call it. I just don't want him to have it. Is that so crazy?
Yeah, my sheriff too. I don't want my sheriff to be beholden to one party or another. That's not what I want in a
Absolutely.
sheriff, you know?
Right.
So yeah.
And honestly, yeah, it gets old. I mean, Elaine, you've been doing this way longer than I have. Please, I need some hope here.
Oh, you're coming to the wrong person. I'm not the hopeful person. I'm the hopeless person. I don't, sometimes I feel like I'm writing the same story over and over again, and just the names change. And sometimes the names don't change that much. So, yeah, no, I mean, I think until we do have some kind of campaign finance reform, we're not going to see better candidates. We're not going to see better races, and we're going to keep seeing these recycled career professional politicians that are, fooling the electorate, frankly.
And you weren't kidding at all. Do not go to Elaine for hope of the
No,
Miami politics.
no, I think there's no hope there. It's a
Yeah, I
dark
just
hole.
I guess I'm the Pollyanna here because I'm like, but this is Miami. We care.
You'd think, right? But unfortunately, what happens with the people who care? I mean, you go to like you said, you go to the commission meetings. Martha, you've been there. Mr. O'Donnell hasn't, but
Get closer, please.
Mr. O'Donnell might not have been to the commission meetings. But it's hard for people to go, spend hours there waiting, as you and Danny have both done, and then get a minute to speak. I mean, it's extremely discouraging.
Excuse me, it's a whole 2 minutes, okay? Let's
Well,
not give them any
if you
less.
have a few speakers, if there's a lot of speakers, Chairman Gilbert will cut that in half. So,
Yeah, that's true.
yeah,
All right, I take that back. Yeah, that's true. They will cut you off despite the many challenges to make it there and wasting your entire day. They don't really care.
they
And
don't.
if you don't word your comments correctly, they'll take offense and cut you off in the middle and not even let you speak.
Yep, I've seen that
Wow.
too. And
They've
you're
done
not,
it to me a few
Well,
and
times.
you're not supposed to like
or if you address them.
exactly. But you know what? The funny thing about that is that I've seen when people go and address them in a positive manner, nobody stops them. But if you call a commissioner out on something, then you're stopped. You're not allowed to address them. You have to address them as a whole body, not personally. I just think that's ridiculous.
Well, I mean, obviously, if I'm a politician and you're coming in to praise me, I'm going to want to hear what you have to say. But if you're coming in to, rain on my parade, this is my house and I don't want to hear it. That's
But
that's basically how they
they shouldn't
feel.
have a
So,
choice. They should be forced to hear it whether they want to or not. It shouldn't be,
oh,
you
I
know,
agree
it's
wholeheartedly.
public comment.
But, this is their
It's
kingdom.
not exactly. It's not the public comment you want. It's just public comment. Period. So
Right.
Exactly. Like if I mention the contributions, like how much money the person with the issue gave to them, they will cut me off
oh,
so
Danny, they're
quick.
always
Even if
cutting
I,
you off. They love to cut you off, Danny.
mm-hmm.
Well, looks like we're gonna go need to get cut off more often or something. How do we? Okay, so now how do we solve this problem for Miami-Dade County? We've identified that there's clearly a problem. Is like how do we solve these issues other than a ballot amendment or something? I mean, like, is there a realistic step that we can take? Is there something we can do?
I mean, I'm at a loss because what we're supposed to do is elect the right people, but we don't. So, like Jenny said, it really is up to us. I mean, I do think that there have been citizen-led elections and referendums around November, December. I think that it's the electorate, like you said, if somebody champions it in the community, maybe somebody wants to be a future candidate, Ms. Bueno, then I think it can be done.
I am having such a hard time hearing you.
I wonder if it's because my battery is dying.
It's possible. Um, well, I think we've kind of covered the election. This is a conversation that obviously is going to keep going because from here to November now we really need to work on getting amongst the candidates that are on the ballot for November, getting the best candidates we can. So this is definitely something that is not over. And I'm going to ask everybody that to go to politicalcortadito.com and to get your news from there. And we need to keep having this conversation. We need to find the solutions because obviously voting is not it.
Yeah.
Voting alone is not it.
Voting alone is not it. Absolutely. So we need to do something. Um, so yeah, Elaine, if your phone is dying, let's go ahead and cut it here, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the only thing we're really waiting on is the Republican primary for sheriff. That looks like it's a dead heat, and we're not going to know until much later tonight. So, just you guys follow me on X, and I'll be updating there with the election results, and then of course tomorrow on Political Cortadito, you have full stories of more important elections. So.
We just got a new update, by the way. We're at 380 reporting now. If you want to just do a quick scroll and see if there's anything that really changed, you know where I'm going with that one.
I do. Beeline for the mayor's race. You're so wonderful.
Beeline for the bottom of it of the list. County mayor, no, back up to 60%.
Yeah, that's gonna teeter totter over
Alrighty.
there.
Well, yeah. I guess it's been pretty much decided. I think I can go cry in a corner.
Okay, well don't cry too hard because we still have work to do.
Yes, yes, and let's hope that I would like to have the mayor on the podcast and interview her. So I should not be saying this. I know I take that back. It's all going to be great. Another 2 billion is not a big deal.
2.5 billion. Why are you shortchanging it? It's 2.5 billion.
Ay ay ay, ay ay ay, but why? You really want me to just cry right now?
No, God.
Ay, santo
Next time we
cielo.
should be doing like shots every time somebody says a particular word. We can do the
We
game.
should. We should. You know what? This in November, I invite you both to do this live in studio, and we'll be doing shots.
I think
Um,
I think that's a fabulous idea.
Yes. Having to do
yes,
this
we'll do
election,
shots as people.
doing this sober is
Sorry?
not fun. Doing this sober is not fun.
No, no. I'll provide the alcohol for you too, and you know what I'll be doing. That's not alcohol.
Okay. Contact high for everybody. All right.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Elaine. I so appreciate you doing this space with me and all your wisdom. It's so great to hear your voice. We don't get on the phone or spaces nearly enough. We definitely need to be addressing the issues
I
more
think we
often.
definitely need
So
to.
I hope that
I
we can do
think
this.
definitely. Thank you for the invite. I think we need to speak more, and thank you for everything you do to keep people informed. Because I think that we need more people like you who are engaged and actually know the issues and the people that we're talking about. And you do a good job of informing the community, so I appreciate that.
Thank you. Really appreciate that. All right, everyone. I invite you all to join me in a corner and cry. I'm kidding. And enjoy your evening. And thank God politics is not everything because it's always disappointing. Catch y'all on the next one.
Okay. Have a good one.
Have a good night.
Bye.
Night, y'all.
Bye, Danny.
Bye.
Bye.